As far as I know, I have always liked to draw. In kindergarten, I was drawing. One of the reasons I think I started drawing like that, because I couldn't speak. I stuttered very much during the grammar school years, the early grammar school years. We spoke Spanish at home. And then all of a sudden you're into an environment that you have to speak English. So being that you're thinking Spanish and trying to speak English and it's all backwards, you know. So I started stuttering until I learned how to think before I speak and slow down, you know. My father was a labor contractor. We had a labor camp about 50 miles outside of Soledad. I was about 13 or so, and we used to work together. My dad was the foreman, and he took care of the camp, and we did the short hoe thing. You know, we were thinning lettuce and thinning whatever. One thing that affected me at that time, there was you know, in Soledad, the little town of Soledad, they used to have a concentration camp for German prisoners during the Second World War. Well, after the war was over, that was about 46. We were at the camp by then. The Germans were gone, and they put in Mexican families in there. And I remember I used to see the wire, the barbed wire on the fences were ended up, and they still had the guard towers. And I thought, Jesus, you know, you had a funny feeling. He came over and showed us how to organize. Because that's what we asked. We said, how do we get some power in this community? How do we get out of our problems? How do we solve our problems? So the only way you're going to do it is to organize the people, to vote, basically. Get involved with civic affairs. Get involved with city councils. Get involved with whatever you can. Speak up, you know. And that's what they started doing. After Cesar left from the CSO, he went to Delano and he started organizing. But he knew that he had to talk to a lot of people before he could organize it, or in the process of organizing. That's when he called me. He says, Andy, he says, come on with me. I want to show you some stuff. And he took me to the worst cases of people, poor people, suffering in the community. In Sanger, Parlier, Fresno, all the San Joaquin Valley, people under bridges, people, you know, in lean-tos and so on. One of the things that really struck me was, I think it was Sanger, when we went to this family to talk to the man there about organizing, and his wife was on the dirt with the two children on the dirt in front of a house that was nothing but a cheap little shack, almost ready to fall apart. And they were playing in the dirt, just marking in the dirt. And they didn't have hardly any clothes on. And she looked really ragged and old. And for some reason or other, I asked her how old she was, and she said she was around 26, I think. I was 28. Cesar wanted me to volunteer cartoons and artwork, this kind of stuff, to the union. And so I became a volunteer. I was working at EMC Corporation, which was, I was doing animation at the time. We had animation there. And I was the key animator, or the key drawing, the key figures. And Cesar came over, and he knocked, and I've never seen a place like that. And so I went out with him, and he said, look, I got this drawing. And so it was on a yellow legal pad. And there was this eagle that was stepping down the lines, right, with the wings. But it had a long neck on it and looked like a little bit like a turkey. And she said, I know. He says, that's why I come to you. He says, can you fix it? Yeah, I can fix it. I can basically, all I'm going to do is I'm going to keep it like it is, more or less, and just work with the head so so you can have that real graphic thing. I was just trying to show the spirit of the guys. They were attacking. attacking the status quo, basically. And they were eager to get in there. They were eager to do something for themselves. That's what impressed me with it. That's what I wanted to show in that one. I just did what I thought was right. And nobody told me anything. They would just say like that, we want a poster showing the huelga, a huelga poster. That's what they wanted. So this became a huelga poster, a striking poster. But the other ones that were done, this was just the beginning. I did a lot of them for the Malcriado, the newspaper. We were starting a newspaper, so for that newspaper, we did, say they wanted cartoons and comic strips and all that kind of stuff. And I said, okay. It's the reason for that is because 50% of our people cannot read or write. And so we have to draw it for them. That started one character that was called Don Sotaco. And that character was a kind of a bumbling, ignorant guy who just worked and worked and worked and worked and did whatever the boss told him to do. He never talked back and never did anything. He just got involved. And he was always being abused. The other guy was El Contratista, was what we call El Coyote, who was bringing in workers for the grower, And the other guy was El Patron, which was the grower, the owner of the land, the landowner. So between all of those, we were able to tell a story using these characters. There was no hero. They were all villains, except the hero was Don Sotaco, actually. He was a guy who got punished. And you felt empathy for him, So that was the trick. But it also gave us a reason to explain your rights. If you see somebody abused, you explain what that guy can do about it. He's got rights. I did that poster, that drawing, when I was working at the agency. So I created that guy. And then after it was hanging around, and I took it over and said, what do you think of this? He says, I like it. But he says, you know what? We're nonviolent. So he says, stick some corks in it. Or I said, I'll stick corks in it.
Corks?
Corks.
It's a gun.
It's a gun and a rifle. And I said, corks in it to make it nonviolent. So anyway, they used that. I was working here in the advertising agencies, and that's what I was doing during the day. At night, I was working on the union drawings. I had an account with Gallo.
Gallo.
Yeah, and we were striking Gallo. So that's why you get burned out.
Yes.
I was just hoping that we were getting people to understand what they were up against. I mean, when you're up against the agribusiness and large corporations, they have power, and then they not only have power, but they lobby and lobby and lobby, and they elect the guys they want who are on their side. So you can't get a law passed to help these guys because they'll kill it. So that's what we were all about. That's why the marches were so important, to show the people coming out and standing up and embarrassing Reagan or whoever it was, and all of a sudden we have people in assembly or in the Congress or wherever that can speak for us. And that's what we were all about, civil rights.